Takaroo gazes in amazement as he finally lays eyes on the legendary Iver flower. He kneels down and scans it, only to learn that the entire garden is protected by a mythical creature. This revelation surprises him. The village chief then explains that Hofalnir, their guardian beast, once saved the village from a demon that ruled their lake long ago. He also shares an old tale claiming that Iver flowers were born from Hofalnir's tears. Hearing this, Takaroo hesitates, unsure if he should really take such a sacred flower. But the chief smiles and assures him it's fine. After all, Takaroo is the hero who saved their village. Grateful, Takaroo carefully cuts one blossom, excited to finally make the antidote and test the soy fruit he discovered. Before he can start experimenting, a villager bursts into the area in panic. After hearing about the attack, Takaroo and Clay race back with the chief. When they arrive, the village is engulfed in flames, buildings completely destroyed. Takaroo orders B to extinguish the fire and tells Clay to evacuate everyone. After a long struggle, the villagers are all safe, and the fires are put out. A relieved villager reports that no one was seriously injured, but Takaroo still feels terrible for what they've lost. Then the villager explains what happened. Anash turned violent after he refused to give him the poisonous Iver flowers, and the merchant set the village ablaze. Outraged, Takaroo clenches his fist. The elder also learns that Ganza is missing, and Takaroo is shocked. The boy who once shared his secret hideout has vanished. While everyone debates their next move, an elderly woman reveals that Enash's men kidnapped Ganza and fled toward the lake. Using his enhanced search ability, Takaroo quickly detects every kidnapper inside an old fortress. He and Clay prepare to leave, but the chief warns them of the danger. Takaroo reassures him that Clay, an A-rank adventurer, will ensure they bring Ganza home safely. Eventually, they reach the abandoned fortress and hide in the bushes, while B scouts through a window. She reports that the bandits are partying inside, celebrating after destroying the village. This enrages Clay, who shifts into his dragon form, ready to storm in. But Takaroo stops him, reminding him that Ganza could be harmed if they go in recklessly. Clay reluctantly calms down, though his fury continues to burn. B suggests using a concealment technique, which sparks an idea in Takaroo's mind. At the fortress entrance, sleeping guards fail to notice the sound of a twig snapping nearby. Inside, a drunken guard stumbles around until Clay silently knocks him out. While gathering some items from the storage room, Takaroo asks Clay if the concealment spell is still active. Clay confirms it is, and also mentions that most of the bandits are upstairs. Curious why Takaroo is taking objects, Clay asks, and Takaroo explains he's looking for proof that the bandits are storing poison. They search every corner for Ganza, but frustration grows as the boy is nowhere to be found. Clay suggests it might be time to force the bandits to talk. As they approach the upper floor where the celebration is happening, they overhear the bandits laughing and mocking the village for refusing their master. One of them even brags that they'll get the Iver flowers by using Ganza as leverage. Ingash sits quietly among them, listening with a grim expression. Another bandit proposes raising the price of Iver poison, explaining that even the powerful Lord Bellman can't cure his wife's Iver poisoning. If they spread that news, assassins everywhere would pay a fortune for the extremely rare material. While the others praise the idea, Ingash suddenly smashes a bottle. Ingash scolds his subordinate, reminding him that their entire scheme was supposed to stay hidden. Hearing this, Takaroo finally understands why the merchant was so desperate to get his hands on the Iver flowers. Clay grows increasingly agitated by the bandits' wicked intentions, so Takaroo gives him the go-ahead to storm inside, but warns him not to kill anyone. Clay nods and smashes through the main gate. The bandits freeze in fear as Clay steps forward, transforming into a force of destruction. Realizing his men are getting obliterated, Ingash immediately looks for an escape route. He orders one of his men to bring out a secret weapon, even though the weapon isn't fully prepared. With no option left, the goon runs off to fetch it. Invisible under his concealment technique, Takaroo suddenly mimics a bandit's voice and asks Ingash whether they should move their hostage. Ingash casually replies that Ganza is safe in a separate building, only to turn around and find no one there at all. Outside, Takaroo searches for the extra storage building Ingash mentioned. Soon, he spots a small structure guarded by a single sentry. B confidently volunteers to take him out. While the guard complains about missing the celebration inside, B swoops in and headbutts him straight through a wall. With the guard out of the way, Takaroo hurries toward the building. He calls out for Ganza and hears the boy's voice from behind a locked door. Relieved, Takaroo hardens his hand and smashes the lock. The moment the door opens, Ganza bursts into tears and jumps into his arms. After calming him down, Takaroo carries him outside, only to find the remaining bandits screaming as they flee from a monstrous creature. Noticing its tentacles, Takaroo asks a nearby bandit what's lurking inside, and the man stammers that it's the legendary lake demon. Takaroo trusts Clay's strength, but fighting an unfamiliar creature is always risky. Wanting to help, he considers hiding Ganza, but the terrified boy clearly can't be left alone. Takaroo tells him to hold on tight and sprints back into the fortress. Inside, he finds Clay locked in battle with a horrifying creature. As the smoke clears, Takaroo realizes it's a massive sea anemone-like demon. He quickly scans it and discovers it's a B-rank beast summoned by Ingash. Nearby, Ingash pathetically begs for his life, but Takaroo reminds him that he caused all this misery himself. Still, when one of the demon's tentacles reaches for Ingash, Takaroo instinctively shields him. The blow sends the fat merchant flying, but Takaroo immediately turns his attention back to Clay. Clay praises him for rescuing Ganza and adds that the demon's tentacles keep regenerating without end. To stop this, Takaroo unleashes an icy breath, freezing the monster solid. Clay believes they've won, but Takaroo warns him that the demon will break free unless they destroy its core. He points out the weak spot between its two red eyes, and Clay strikes with a devastating punch, only to enrage the creature even more. The demon explodes into a frenzy, releasing countless tentacles toward Takaroo. The attack blasts him out of the fortress, tossing him and Ganza through the air. Takaroo just barely catches the child and hurls him toward B before crashing into the poisonous lake below. As he sinks into the toxic water, Takaroo wonders if this is finally the end, despite all the incredible abilities he's gained. But then he realizes something. His body didn't move to protect himself. It moved on its own to save someone else. Watching Takaroo slowly descend into the poison, a mysterious boy observes him with quiet admiration. He notes that Takaroo's selflessness may be the very thing that changes the world. The mysterious boy watching Takaroo sink senses countless irregularities within him. Feeling compelled to help, he decides to intervene and keep Takaroo alive. Meanwhile, Takaroo laments that he's going to die without tasting all the delicious foods the world has to offer. As he drowns in self-pity, he hears a woman's voice calling out from the void, but he stubbornly ignores her. Eventually, the woman becomes annoyed and forcibly pulls him out of the water. That's when Takaroo finally notices a majestic flying horse holding him in the air. Confused, he asks who she is, and she introduces herself as Hafalmir. Before he can ask further questions, she shows him the lake below, now shimmering a pure, brilliant blue. Takaroo is stunned by how drastically it has changed. Hafalmir explains that he purified her lake. Long ago, one of the lake's magical elements became unstable, weakening her severely. To protect her home, she created the Iver flower, which could absorb the spreading poison. But generating the flowers drained all her power, forcing her into a dormant state as a stone statue. When Ingash interfered, he nearly ruined everything she had done. But by absorbing the poisonous energy himself, Takaroo restored balance to the lake and revived her. Takaroo modestly accepts Hafalmir's gratitude. She carries him back to Clay and Ganza, though neither of them can see her presence. Realizing that he alone can perceive the legendary beast, she soon vanishes in a burst of radiant light. After returning Ganza safely to the village, Takaroo and Clay prepare to leave. Outside, Takaroo arranges a ring of magic stones, telling Clay it will let him activate a special spell. Although hesitant, Clay steps inside the circle and trusts him. Takaroo activates a gate spell that teleports them directly to Bellman's mansion. There, they collaborate with a doctor from the Adventurers Guild to create an antidote using the Iver flower. Once the medicine is ready, Takaroo gives it to Militia, and her condition improves almost instantly. Bellman begs Takaroo to scan her, and when he does, the results show no trace of Iver poisoning. Overwhelmed with relief, the entire family breaks down in tears. After ensuring Militia is fully healed, Takaroo returns to the village, now bustling with rebuilding efforts. The chief laments that the village suffered so much, but Takaroo reassures him that Ingash has been arrested by the territory lord, with every piece of evidence needed to convict him. The elder then asks how they can repay Takaroo for saving them. Takaroo insists he doesn't want any grand reward, but he does want to show the chief something. After a moment, he cooks a potato and drizzles soy fruit sauce on top. Once the chief tastes it, he falls instantly in love with the flavor. Takaroo explains that it's made from soy sauce and asks if he can buy the Lita's fruits in bulk. The chief agrees. Takaroo then asks if he can expand the entire fruit field once he starts turning a profit. The chief wonders why anyone would want so much of such a useless fruit, but Takaroo explains that he can sell it in Beltsum as a village specialty. As soon as money is mentioned, the chief becomes fully motivated. Takaroo then invites all the villagers to try the dish, showing them how their overlooked fruit can become something amazing. Afterward, Takaroo bids farewell to the village and returns to Clay. Clay asks how he's holding up, and Takaroo admits he's exhausted. As he looks toward the sun, he thinks he must be hallucinating from fatigue. But when Clay turns to the same spot, he sees it too. Hafalmir materializes right in front of them. She lands gracefully and reveals that she's a real creature, not a hallucination. When Takaroo asks why she left the village, she explains she was tired of staying in one place. Then, in a flash of light, the horse transforms into a woman. She boldly declares that she wants to travel the world with Takaroo. Clay immediately objects, but Hafalmir insists she'll enjoy adventuring with him. She even reminds Takaroo that he said he wanted a horse anyway. Takaroo reluctantly agrees, though he feels guilty treating a legendary being like a simple mount. Hafalmir doesn't care and happily declares that she'll go anywhere he wants. As she continues teasing him, Takaroo realizes she might end up being a legendary headache. And that wraps up episode 8. Subscribe so you don't miss the next part, and check out the next